welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be doing a study of the way that Edward Seago worked. Now, Edward Seago was a very famous watercolour artist in the last century and very influential. A lot of artists copied his style. Now I'm going to do a similar painting to the one that you see here, and I'm not going to do it the same. I'm going to do it slightly different, but I'm looking at his techniques and the way that he painted landscapes so simply and efficiently. And if you look at this particular painting of his, there's the trees that are purposely different sizes. One there, another one there, the large one at the side, and the very simple background, simple foreground with some shadows, and the trees are showcasing the cottages in front, and there's the very nice shadow from the eaves of the cottage, and he's put a couple of people in there as well. All very simple. There is a few pencil lines that you can just about see there and there, and a couple there which he's kept in, and I'm going to do a very similar scene, and hopefully you'll get an idea of how somebody as talented as him painted. I'll do my best. Now, as you can see, I've got a similar image, just one cottage and some trees, and I've done the sketch already, and I've used quite heavy pencil lines so that you can see the image. And first of all, I'm going to be doing the background trees, which is a very watery wash of Payne's grey. Not making too much of this at all. The idea of this painting is to keep everything incredibly simple, and I'm not going to be using more than 3 washes in any one area. In a lot of areas it would just be 2. And trying to work efficiently as well. That's the other area, distant trees on the right hand side, done with the same colour. An interesting thing that I found with trying to get similar colours to what Edward Seago used is I'm actually using white to tone down some of them. I'm going to start on these trees, and I'm using a ready-made colour Sap Green with some Payne's grey, toning it down, using quite an old mop brush. Actually, I've had this for a few years. It's worn down, and I quite like the way that it sort of bounces across the paper. The paper I'm using is Arches 140 rough, and the paints are Winsor and Newton artist quality paints. Have much better coverage than the student paints. And next to the puddle of green that I mixed for the start, I've added some raw sienna, and I'm starting on the tree behind the cottage. Just using a kind of a flicking style, using the brush sideways as well, just to catch the top of that rough surface of the paper. give the impression of a few leaves. Saves you trying to paint individual leaves. This is a colour called Jean Brilliant. Use that neat and quite a heavy wash there. And if you keep your eye on the palette, you'll see that I'm dipping into some of the other puddles as I go. It becomes a little difficult to describe everything I'm doing because sometimes it's just instinctive. I'm trying to get lights and darks, leaving lots of gaps in the trees as well. I'm sure that when he painted it would have been much faster than myself. As he painted a lot more than I did. I'm going in with the first wash of dark colour, which is Payne's grey, some sepia, and I'm going very carefully around the cottage because I want to do what he did and frame the cottage. Dark against light. It's the old adage, light against dark, dark against light. Really effective. Just coming down the side of the cottage. Sometimes I'm adding water to the mixture, and then just adding some darker bits to the tree on the left there. So that's called wet in wet. So I'm going over the paint while it's still wet. And the same on the right hand side of the cottage. Still using my trusty old mop there. It still has quite a nice tip on it. And just going around the top of the top part of the cottage very carefully, keeping things like the chimney pots there, which I'll be painting in another colour pretty soon. Just letting this brush bounce over the surface of the paper, getting those nice edges, give the impression of leaves. Working my way down to the foreground. Really just using pretty much the same colours, same mixtures, Payne's grey, French ultramarine, sepia, sap green. I do like to use sap green mixed with other colours, with other blues, French ultramarine, cobalt blue. Get some nice shades. If you look in the description below, you'll see all the information in regards to materials, and there are also the chapters so you can move from one part of the painting to another. And once again with the Jean Brilliant. If you can't get this paint, it's you can make the same colour with raw sienna and white watercolour. Adding a little bit of raw umber just to give it a slightly darker shade. And then when I'm happy with the colour I've got, I'll do most of this area of bushes with this one colour, and I'll be going over again with some darker shades. Just covering the paper now. Switch brush now to a medium size round brush, synthetic. And adding white, making this much lighter for the bushes on the left hand side there. As you can see, there's the roads there. Now you can see the road, and that bush on the left hand side there just keeps the eye from wandering out the paper there at the bottom left. And using the mixtures that I've already made up to do the cottage. I've dried this off and going over this with the edges where the trees are being dry. One thing I noticed with Edward Seago's work is there's quite a lot of crisp edges in his work. He does do wet and wet, but he leaves quite a few crisp edges, especially in these skies. Just removed a little bit of the paint on the roof there with a tissue, just to make it appear that there's some light on the roof, a little bit of sunlight coming through from the trees. More or less all the first wash is on now. And I'm going to be doing what he did in as much as making the shadows different colours. In this instance, it's the mixture that I've been using, this Jean Brilliant and some raw umber, just to give the impression that there's the shadows from the trees above the cottage onto the cottage roof. Now working in some raw umber into the front of the cottage with these bushes. Once again, light against dark, dark against light. Using a dagger brush here, or I was using a dagger brush, and I've moved back to the synthetic round. Just trying to keep these shapes random. Still using raw umber, just varying it a little, added some darks to it. In this case, neutral tint, purely because the colour was next to it and it's just easier to get to. I could have used Payne's grey just to darken it up. Nice dark against that light cottage wall. And then leaving the outline of the bush in front. You can pencil in your bushes beforehand, very lightly, just to help you along when you start painting. It's nice to paint at speed, but if you can give yourself some aids, such as the odd pencil line here and there, just to remind you of what you thought was the best lines, best marks to put in beforehand, it is useful. If you do like this particular topic, as much as painting in the style of some of the English watercolour masters, do drop me a line and mention the particular artist that you like, and maybe we can do another session. When I first started to paint many years ago, some of the first books that I got from the library to study was the works of Edward Seago, and it was quite nice. It was quite big books with very large illustrations, and he did the most wonderful seas and skies, and a lot of watercolours. There is oils in the books as well, but watercolours. And for me, trying to do these images was good practice, and certainly helped me along. Now this is the shadow of the trees, done very simply in a mixture of raw umber and just a little white. And using the same mixture for some shadows underneath the eaves. And then putting in the same shadows on the front wall, keeping the window frames clear of any paint. I think when you look at his paintings, he just used pure watercolour, nothing else. no masking fluid, no gouache. And with the same colour I'm just putting in a shadow on the side building on the left hand side of the cottage.